We're standing in one of John Yeon's plywood houses. When John and Bert Smith built this house, the country was climbing out of the Great Depression. Basically, like 70% of Portlanders made $2,000 a year or less. And so they were really aiming at trying to bring housing to the masses at that time. So John's method for accomplishing this goal was to basically reinvent how you built a house. And he took advantage of the newly invented marine plywood that had been developed for boat building and applied it to this house. Plywood was actually invented down the street in St. John's back around 1905. The directors of the Lewis and Clark Exposition, which was this huge exposition that was trying to put Portland on the map, they put out a call for innovation, and a company just up the street, the Portland Manufacturing Company, came up with the idea of simply taking thin veneers of wood and alternating the grain and painting glue in between it. And they actually eventually created machines to produce that. And so it was the first sort of production plywood that was ever created. So essentially this is a modular house. We hear a lot about modular building these days with prefab, with the fashion for prefab housing. And in a sense this is an early version of that. I mean, of course, architects and builders had been doing that sort of thing since Sears and Roebuck houses. Even Victorian houses were kit houses, but the idea was to create a kit of parts that could be incredibly inexpensive and simple. So this is what this house is really about, is using modular features. Simple windows, simple lumber, plywood, all to put together just the least expensive house possible.
In 2015, a state of emergency was declared on homelessness in Portland. And on any given night, there are over 3,800 people who are on the streets. If you consider an expanded definition of homelessness, which is insecure housing or people doubled up, that number reaches more like 16 or 17,000 on a given night. So the issue needs to be addressed from many angles. The POD initiative is one way to do that. The POD initiative it looks at what's working already in houseless communities, self-governed communities, and then providing a strong physical infrastructure to support a social infrastructure that might already be there. The POD initiative really grew out of conversations with the Village Coalition, which is a group of activists, advocates, and people with lived experience with houselessness trying to address the issue. And then the POD initiative recognizes that there are houseless folks who are having a lot of success building their own communities, which is exactly what most people would do if they found themselves on the street. And so what the POD initiative did was brought together architects with houseless folks and people who work in that community to try to address the issue through design. Right now, I'm standing in front of 14 pods that were designed and built by architects and students at PSU, and these will go into the Kenton Women's Village, which will be the first village of its kind supported by the city. So these pods were really thought of as prototypes that could be potentially replicated. The Plywood Pod initiative, which is represented at the Portland Art Museum, is the next step, and it's saying how can we utilize this amazing material, which has its origins in Portland, to begin to address this as well. And so the designs that were submitted represent an equally diverse range of ways to incorporate this technology for an issue that's really pressing today in Portland. Yes. So the next one is...
Did they just open up one side?
What's this one called?
Yeah, just to show us.
10-ply. So this one looks, it's very clear. If you look at the little pieces toward the bottom, you can see how you would cut them all out of sheets of plywood. That's using the CNC.
Well, looking through the spectrum of designs that have emerged in this process related to the John Yeon exhibit, I am deeply impressed and heartened too, because we're seeing some of the most outstanding firms, I think, in the world stepping forward to get involved in something that transcends the normal spectrum of their interest, to become involved in a crucial, timely issue that is quite urgent and treat it as if it is a creative opportunity, not just for shelter, but to celebrate the human spirit. I think it gives me hope for the future of the world. Thinking about John Yeon and what he stood for in our region, and the kind of ideas that he was offering to our broader community, that not just the design community, but the whole culture of the region, I think it's a perfect opportunity that we're undertaking now to investigate something of great common interest, because after all, these are the children, these are members of our family. Who knows exactly who they're connected to, but they're connected to almost all of us in some fashion. So I think this is at best an opportunity to bring us together around a common cause. And after all, Americans need something to bring us together, to help us remember that we're part of a greater whole.